Pulls the old switcheroo, does Laban.
Incest.
Lots of incest, which I have notes on that we'll get into.
I had a trigger word, and the trigger word was resolve. It worked really well for me. The work was fucking getting done.
Is there a way that you could train your brain to maintain that whenever you need it?
That day's not going to come. The constant motivation is not going to come. You have to get clear on that. It's not going to come, so you're just going to have to do the work.
This is within my brain. Is there a way that I could manifest this type of brain activity? Could I maintain that? I don't know. I think that's as far as we're going to get tonight, honestly. So mission accomplished.
Okay, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling healthy. I'm feeling clear-minded. I think we'll be good. What book are we on? Or what chapter? Because we're still in fucking Genesis, aren't we?
We are. And I'm feeling good today, too, actually.
Good. Cool. We might have some more insights than the last episode.
Time. Yeah. I don't know how much there was to take away. Like I said last week, I said whenever we really get to those stories, we're going to clump more of them together because just the birth doesn't really have a whole lot to look into.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the plan, just to have a more casual conversation.
Yeah. It was that.
It certainly was, which I don't mind if that's what the show turns into. You know, the whole purpose is figuring out how these stories relate to real life. Like, if we have any general thoughts like you did last week, just that random thought experiment type thought that you had, that's like, bring that shit up.
Cool. Fuck yeah.
But yeah, so today we're talking about Genesis 29 when Jacob arrives in Padan Aram, which, just for reference, is north of where Abraham and all of his people's journey started. Okay. North of Israel and that whole region. It's around like the Turkish-Syrian border. Okay. So like northern Middle East. So Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of the eastern peoples. He saw a well in the open country with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it. The flocks were watered from that well. There was a stone over the mouth of the well, and it was large. When all the flocks gathered there, the shepherds would move this big old rock away from the opening to the well and then water the sheep, and then they would move this big old rock back into place. So Jacob asked them, my brothers, where are you from? And they said, we're from Haran. And he said, do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson? And they said, yes, we know him. And Jacob asked, is he well? And they said, yes, he is. And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep. Look, he said, the sun is still high. It is not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to pasture. We can't, they replied, until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep. So sounds like Jacob kind of tries to assert himself a little bit there, almost like he's kind of growing up a little bit, and they're like, nah, dude, this is how it works.
This is our shit, dog.
Basically. Then Rachel came with her father's sheep. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of his uncle Laban, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. He had told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and a son of Rebekah, so she ran and told her father. So just a couple of things on that. First off, of course, daughter of his uncle. Again, with the fucking in-family marriages, why? Let's try to have a back and forth on that and figure out what that might be. I'm tired of this. And then the weeping. So I don't know if that's necessarily meant to be sad weeping, because weeping, I think, technically just means like shedding tears because of any extreme overpowering emotion. Yeah, so I think that it may be tears of happiness. I'm not sure.
As one does after they get a little smooch.
A little smooch from your cousin, because they're cousins.
Yeah.
It's first cousins.
It's worth crying tears of joy about, for sure.
I Don't know if mine would be of joy. As soon as, I have to marry you. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he hurried. He's very excited that he knows it's a relative to meet him.
I'm getting a clue over there.
I'm getting a clue pointing over towards my wife now. He embraced him and kissed him, brought him to his home. Jacob told him everything that's going on, and then Laban said, "You are my own flesh and blood." Now we're moving on to the story of, so now Jacob is in Padam Aram. Next story, Jacob marries Leah and Rachel. So after Jacob had stayed with him for a month, Laban said to him, "Just because you're a relative, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." So Laban had 2 daughters, not just Rachel. Rachel was the younger daughter. The older was named Leah. So Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, "I'll work for you 7 years in return for the younger daughter Rachel." And I have notes on some of these things that we'll get into later. But Laban said, "It's better that I give her to you than some other man. Stay here with me." Yes, of course, it's better that I give her to her cousin. Laban, all of the other biblical figures. Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. So really emphasizing how much he loves Rachel specifically. Okay. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. My time is completed, and I want to make love to her." Like, bro, chill out. Like, that's her father. Calm down.
7 years, dog.
Could you imagine walking up to your prospective wife's father and being like, "Okay, dude, like, I want to fuck now."
It's like 7 years, man.
It's been 7 years.
Can I fuck?
Can you please let a brother get down?
Almost literally.
But
can you please let a cousin get down, man?
Please let a cousin get down. Yeah. Yeah. Please. So Laban brought together all the people, gave a feast, and when the evening came, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and Jacob made love to Leah, which... I know that we're not taking these stories literally, but how do you not know that it was a completely different person that you were sleeping with? Like, did they lock him in a dark, windowless room and lead her to him in a dark hallway to ensure that no light came in so that he could not see her? Tell her not to speak so that he couldn't hear the difference in voice, and like probably shut off his smell too, because like these people cannot regularly bathe. I assume they're all basically wearing constantly like a unique perfume of their own personal musk. So it's like, how on earth could you not know? I know it's just a story and that our whole point here is that we're not taking this literally, but like, come on. Yeah. But pulls the old switcheroo, does Laban, and Jacob sleeps with Leah. He wanted Rachel. And so, and Laban also gave his servant Zilpah to Leah as her attendant. So now Leah has a servant as well. When morning came, there was Leah. Magically, Jacob can see, smell, and hear again. And so Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?" Laban replied, "It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older ones. Finish the daughter's bridal week, then we will give you the younger one also, in return for another 7 years of work." And Jacob did so. He finished the week with Leah and Leah, I'm going back and forth here, Leah. And then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his servant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her attendant. So now each daughter has a servant. Jacob made love to Rachel also, and his love for Rachel was greater than his love for Leah. So that's being emphasized again. He loves Rachel. It doesn't say he doesn't love Leah, but it says that he loves Rachel more. So they keep emphasizing that, which, I mean, to be fair, that he made that very clear from the start. He wanted to marry Rachel.
Sure.
And he worked for Laban for another 7 years. So just first off, since we just hit this bit, very, very lovely that Jacob the deceiver was tricked into another 7 years labor to get the wife he actually wanted. It's almost like an eye for an eye kind of.
Has Jacob at this point has not tricked his brothers yet, right? Or has he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he tricked Esau, the brother.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he he made him trade his birthright for stew, and then,
Okay. I'm thinking of who am I thinking of? Joseph in the multicolored dream coat or something like that.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll
get there.
We'll get there for sure. Yeah, no. So, but he has already tricked Isaac into giving him the blessing that was meant for Esau.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay,
Jacob is the one whose name translates to he who grasps the heel, or he who is
Trickster,
a deceiver,
yeah.
liar, deceiver. But yeah, so he's getting appropriate recompense
Gotcha.
for that, which I love. And they're also just kind of following custom by like giving away the older daughter there, which I think is important just because they are observing that tradition of like, well, the eldest marries first.
Yeah.
But it's all because it just makes sense because it like in order to ensure the highest possible likelihood of both of them having kids, you would want to make sure that the oldest one gets it done first. Yep. So, just a couple of things there since we just hit them. But any takeaways from you on that one? Do you want a quick summary abridgment, or did you follow pretty well?
Yeah, I followed. It's getting harder and harder for me to. This is the greatest book that's ever been written, arguably. Just. If you want to go not even off of like a personal opinion, but off of like one of the longest lasting books in history.
Just objectively speaking, it's one of the longest lasting.
Yeah. Which, for it to be that, has to have brought some sort of value to continue, right?
Yeah, or people have seen it that way.
Sure. And like I'm like, what the fuck are we supposed to take away from this shit? You know, like not this shit, but like.
From some of these stories.
Yeah, like this, like, is there a meaning within the fact that Jacob slept with Leah first, and even though he wanted Rachel? Like, is there deeper meaning to that? And like, I'm just struggling more and more with whether there is or not, or if it's plot development and like moving things forward.
Like him sleeping with her specifically. I get what you're saying, just as far as like how many of these details actually have something to be taken away from them. But with this one specifically, do you mean like, is there symbolism to the fact that he slept with the eldest daughter first beyond the story? Like, it's not the one he wanted, but like, is there some symbolism?
I think there must be. Yeah, there must be. It's like, and then we also have to remind ourselves that like 2,000 years ago, marriage was a whole lot different than it is now. Arguably now it's about love and whatnot. Seems like back then it was more about duty and, duty to your family and to your bloodline and to God.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree that it's more about love now. I think that it's different.
The idea of it is about love.
Yeah. It's changed from having like your wifely duties and your manly duties, and it's more about like loving each other and.
Yeah, there are hardly any arranged marriages like in the West at all, if any. Like and they were certainly arranged marriages
back then. Yeah, and apparently still in Eastern countries.
Yeah.
I recently saw a video of an older couple that is like advertising their daughter to find a husband on fucking TikTok. Like she just looks all shy and bashful, and they like gently tug her into frame, and I don't know what the hell they're saying. But
they're Eastern European or what?
No, I think it was Chinese specifically, East Asian, but I'm pretty sure it was Chinese.
Gotcha.
Specifically. But yeah, they like pull her in gently, and then they're just like, yeah, this is our daughter. She's looking for a husband. We're looking for possible suitors. DM us, whatever they're saying. I don't know. I don't speak Chinese or Mandarin, but
John Cena does.
John Cena could translate it for us. Yeah, please interpret for us, John Cena. We're looking for another sponsor.
John Cena, we're waiting on you, man.
Yeah. But yeah, what do you think the meaning behind behind that could be? The fact that he slept with the older sister first.
And he was tricked into it too.
He was Well, I think that the meaning behind the tricking is related to Jacob specifically. Because like I said, he has been demonstrated to be a trickster. And I don't know if the Bible is big on teaching fairness, so I don't want to say that, like, well, if you trick people, it's fair that it happens back to you, and that's what the Bible's getting at. But I think it's kind of a law of attraction kind of thing. Like, if you are a confident person, you radiate that confidence. The people around you can feel that, right? You know, and other confident people will be attracted to you and want to spend time with you. Even non-confident people will be, like, comfortable or want to be around you because you are just exuding positive energy, basically. The same goes if you're a scumbag. You know, if you're a skeezy trickster and you're constantly pulling one over on people, you're radiating that kind of energy. Which can lead to you just being surrounded by those types of people that might do the same to you because they are those types of people. And B, because if you're putting that energy out there and people can just kind of tell this guy's a bit of a skis ball, you know, like they might be more inclined to pull one over on you because it's like, well, I mean, you're a piece of shit.
Right.
I don't know if that's necessarily right, but it's likely to happen.
Yep.
So I think that's what it's getting at when he is tricked into it, because it's like, you've been a trickster piece of shit all this time. That's why you're on this great journey. Like, you tricked your way into all of these good tidings,
positions and
sir.
such. Yeah.
So I think that's appropriate.
Yeah. I've heard, I don't know who said it, but there's someone online or something, a business owner, who's like, yeah, if I found out that, or he was about to go into a business deal with this guy, and he seemed like all the right things were in place, and he seemed like a good guy, and then this guy found out that this guy had, like, cheated on his wife prior, and so he, like, canceled the deal. He was like, I'm not doing that, because his philosophy was, if you're willing to do that to someone that you're supposed to be the closest person to and the respect the most out of anyone else in the world, the
number one,
you're going to be willing to do it elsewhere.
Exactly.
It's like Jacob in this situation is not ready for Rachel.
That could almost be the case. Yeah, it's like, no, you don't quite deserve to get exactly what you want.
Yep.
At this stage,
because you'll fuck it up if you, like, this is how I felt in my life too, of like, oh, I missed out on this girl and I missed out on this girl because I didn't go up and talk to her, or whatever it is. But it's like, I wasn't ready at that time. Like I like, now I'm at a place where I'm ready for, like, I know I am. I'm of character and so on and so forth. At that time, I was not prepared for that, and I most likely would have fucked it up. You know?
In those instances where you just did not approach.
Right.
Sure, yeah, because you literally just weren't ready. If you weren't ready to approach, then how could you be ready to interact with them for hours at a time?
Yeah, right.
I definitely agree with that. And yeah, I would say if he's demonstrated that he's not worthy of receiving these blessings yet. Like, you need to get your act together before you really reap the benefit of these blessings, because you can't, no amount of guidance and push from that higher you is going to lead you to success if you are actively doing everything in your power to not abide by what it's telling you to do, and you're still just being a piece of shit. Right. Like, you can have the loudest conscience in the world. If you still don't listen to it, it doesn't matter. Which, that's kind of an interesting thought. Like, how many people are really, really, really aware of that conscience and just deciding, nah, anyway? Whenever it's just like, don't do that, they're like, no, I'm going to do it.
Interesting. Because that's going to cause, in a healthy person, it'll cause total turmoil.
It'd cause turmoil, and immediately, I mean, in certain instances in your life, that's going to cause just chaos.
Right.
You know, it's like that little voice in your head might be the voice in your head that, you know, sometimes you have random intrusive thoughts that are just like, you know, you're driving on the highway and that some little part of the back of your mind is just like, I could jerk my wheel 90 degrees to the right and just veer through 4 lanes of traffic right now and into the median.
Right.
And then another part of your brain is like, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
What if you're just like, I'm gonna do it. That type of scenario. Yeah, I wonder how many of those types of just like chaotic individuals there are out there. Like, what's the percentage?
Right, because I think most people in that scenario, like maybe not the median idea, but like to do something sleazy or something like that, they're so good at tricking themselves into like having an excuse for it, or like, oh, this person, well, he's a piece of shit anyway, so that's why I can fuck him over. Mm-hmm. It's all these justifications that we create in our mind.
Absolutely,
keep us from accepting or acknowledging that what a conscientious person would, and being like, I shouldn't do that. Instead of going, yeah, I'm going to do that, like a crazy person like you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's how can I build my way to making this a rational thought?
Yeah, how can I compensate for my conscience and trick myself into thinking that it's wrong?
Right.
Or that, like, I know better.
Right.
Like, no, what you're about to do is wrong. Yeah, but no, for this reason and this reason, it's actually technically okay. It's like you're reasoning with your conscience on technicalities to justify your shit behavior. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And it's a battle that we're probably gonna we're gonna have to go through for the rest of our lives. Like,
oh yeah,
as people striving for a better life and striving to be conscientious or are conscientious, like we're always gonna have to catch ourselves doing that for the rest of our lives.
Catch yourself
trying to like compensate or justify bad decisions.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like is that something that you have noticed prominently in yourself, or is that something that you feel like comes into play a whole lot of the time? Is that type of thing something that you struggle with, where you are regularly having like an internal monologue where part of you is saying like, do something bad, or at least do the worst option,
or do something lazy? Yeah, the worst option. The worst
lazy
option
is kind of what I was thinking with the worst option. Yeah.
There's been I struggle with it for sure. Like there's been so many times where like I'm getting work done, or like I could be getting work done, and then I decide to go play video games or whatever else. I don't know if I trick myself, or I'm just like, nah. Like, I think I do kind of have that, nah. Like, I just, there have been many instances the opposite, where I go, no, let's fucking do this. So I'm not like total piece of shit.
Yeah.
But there's been a ton of instances where it's like, okay, I should be getting work done. I could be getting work done. I have all of the right things in place for me to start getting work done. No, I'm just going to chill. And like, I don't trick myself. I don't lie to myself. I just fucking give up in a sense, and like that I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. That's fucking terrifying. That's a dangerous fucking way to be.
I experienced the same thing, where it's like I won't even be. It used to be that I would have to tell myself like, no, don't. I know you're really into this show right now, but like you need to do something. Don't watch an episode of the show. Or like, I know you're really into this game right now that just came out, but like you have other shit to do first. But lately, it's been more just, I don't want to do this. It's not like something specific pulling me away.
Yeah, right.
It's like
I
would rather go on a hike right now than sit at my computer. It's just like, I don't want to work. It's especially at the end of the day, which makes sense. I know, when does it usually kick in for you?
Yeah, at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, well, it might just be burnout. I mean, how draining mentally is your day for you on average? I'm sure it varies from day to day, but like your average day, how taxing is it for your mental energy store?
Yeah, the creative and like thoughtful side of me fucking goes to zero at the end of most days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of how it's a little bit of its creativity, because you have to get a little bit creative when you're working on nutrition programs, especially because everybody eats differently, but it's mainly just like processing power. I'm thinking up responses and doing math and calculating macros and fucking calorie goals based on different factors, and fucking typing out long detailed messages about like why this is important or why that is important or why I want you to do this, so that it doesn't sound like I'm just like giving you goals for no reason.
Right,
It's
right,
like,
right.
this is why I want you to do this.
Right.
I don't want you to feel like I'm just saying, hey, go do this and get out of my hair.
Right.
You know, that takes energy. So after like 6 to 8 hours of that, like 6 to 10 hours of that, it's like, I just kind of want to disassociate and stare blankly at something for the next hour or maybe more.
Shut the brain off.
Shut the brain off completely. Yeah, it's like I won't even be able, if I wanted to play a game, I wouldn't be able to. If I wanted to focus on a show that's like, I don't know, has a deep plot, I wouldn't be able to focus on. It'd be noise.
Right.
So I'll like put on some music or put on a YouTube video and just kind of zone out for a little bit, and then I'll like get some work done when I get a spurt of energy, and then I'll go back to kind of zoning out. You know, I still get everything done that needs to be done, but it's just like you said, I just lose that energy at a certain point. Not every day, but just it happens pretty often. How often would you say it happens for you?
Every night.
It is every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is most nights for me. I will have the occasional night where it's like, cool, yeah, I'm ready. Okay, I finished up work for the day. Now it's time to get into editing or whatever.
Yeah, and I wish I wish I could make that consistent somehow.
I'm using this week off to try to find some kind of a balance.
Yeah,
to make that work. But what were you gonna? Felt like I cut you off.
No, you're totally fine. That's what I'm trying to get my the more brain power heavy work done at the beginning, and then like the more mindless tasks, knock those out when I'm not feeling like working. Because then I still feel like I'm getting work done. That's necessary work.
Yeah.
But I don't have to use my brain. I can just shut off essentially.
Yeah, and I have kind of a similar structure. You want to?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a similar process at the beginning of the day where I always start with just nutrition work, because generally speaking, that takes more mental energy than editing does for me. I mean, I have to pay attention while I'm editing just because I'm like fine tuning cuts and shit like that. But it's not like, I don't know, other people are depending on me for my nutrition work. You know, I have clientele.
Yep.
So I put a lot more thought and effort into that than anything that relates to only me. Or maybe not more effort, but more worry goes into it, I think is a better word.
Do you think that's subtly telling yourself that like you respect what needs to get done for those people more than for yourself?
That is exactly the thought that I had as I was uttering that sentence. So, and yeah, I do think that's the case, just because it's like these people they're paying for a service. I mean, beyond the fact that I just, generally speaking, like if I'm working with you, I want you to like achieve the things that you're trying to achieve. In a general sense, you know, if you were my lifting client, I want you to, lifting or nutrition client, whatever it is, I want you to do the things that you are trying to do, and I want to facilitate that as best as possible. Moreover, you're paying for this service, so like it's a combination of me just like realizing I want you to do the things that you want to do, and you're paying for this. So, like, it's on me to make sure that I make that happen. Like, I don't know how to equate that to dealing with myself. I'm not paying me, but it's like in some weird way I could mangle that to be like, well, it's like your time is your money in a way. It is,
so it is. Totally. Like when you steal, like if you started to interject here, but like no, real quick, like if you steal $20 for someone, you didn't just steal $20 from them, you stole their time from them to earn that $20.
Yes, absolutely, definitely. Or just whatever they did. Either way, yeah. So it's really, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's because it's the job specifically. You know, like my side projects are important to me, but they are my side projects. This one specifically is our side project, but everything else that I'm doing is me. It's just me. So it's like when other people are depending on me, it's like my work and someone else's work, or it's my work that somebody else depends on specifically, it takes precedent over the things that only concern me.
Yep.
Both things concern me, but if somebody else is also in the picture, it's like I have a responsibility for this person. Like if I were to just fuck off working on this show for a week and just like, yeah, I'm not uploading this Thursday. It's like, that's kind of just like, okay, well, what you're in the position to be like, well, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's like, that's on you to why.
Yeah.
Likewise, we've talked, if I just didn't do my nutrition work for a day, it's like there are people depending on me to do things every day. Like people are asking me questions. Some people might be struggling with something that I need to put thought into and help them with. But as far as my like structure goes, that just made me remember that. Like, I start off the day with easier stuff to just kind of warm up for like 30 minutes to an hour, and then dive into the like
stuff.
This guy's gonna need a detailed breakdown on something.
How do we show up for ourselves in the way that we show up for our clients? Like there needs to be a perspective shift. At least personally for me, I think there does a perspective shift to like make myself equal to the people I'm working for, because everything that I do is I'm paying myself in a sense. Like I'm a client of myself in a way. And there needs to be some sort of perspective shift of like showing up for yourself. Like even like taking it easy on a workout one day or something. Like when I could have gone harder and I know I could have. Like I need to show up for myself like I was training a client. And I that's a tricky question. I'm not sure if I have the answer to that, but I want to start doing that.
Well, do you think it's a perspective issue with you? Because it seems like you work a lot. So it's like you have a finite amount of energy, physical or psychological. So it's like I've noticed with myself that I have plenty of energy to pursue that kind of thing if I have more time on my hands. Like I'm perfectly capable of putting the amount of focus that I put into my clients, into myself. I can only put so much of that energy into anything at any given time. So if I'm spending a full-time work week putting that amount of energy into other people, it's just like I only have so much left over for myself. Because I've had spurts where I wasn't working as much, or at least maybe I was just doing less stressful work that didn't require as much thought. Like, for instance, whenever I was working as a trainer as opposed to a nutritionist, that takes a little bit less thought. I mean, just in my opinion, personally, lifting is a lot less complicated than the nutrition side of things, and eating is a constant thing. Like you are eating for like throughout your entire waking day. Like it's something the 1 hour in the gym is the easy part. Like if you can get there, you're like, that's 90% of the battle. Now you just do what I tell you. That's it. And like that. So that's not really a mentally taxing job. So whenever I was primarily training and doing like back end sales work, it's like I'm not taking any of that stress to the post-work day with me, whatever. So I had plenty more energy to like work on music all the time, train for a fight, edit videos, like all of these things at the same time, and dating. It's like, but I look back to like 2 years ago and I'm like, how was I doing what the fuck I was doing? Or I guess like one year ago and 2 years ago, that whole stretch. But now it's just like I'm worn thin, So I guess what I'm getting at is like if you were only working 10 stressful hours a week, or let's say you had like a 20 to 30 hour work week and it was not stressful at all, or if you just had let's say you had no job, you didn't have to worry about working, what do you think you would be able to put that amount of effort and energy into yourself if you didn't have to expend it elsewhere?
Where my mind state is now, yes. Like for a while though, I probably would have just fucking fucked off and shit.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Same. What I will say is like something that actually did work for me, where I showed up for myself, like I showed up for everyone else, was I had a trigger word, and the trigger word was resolve. So, and I got this from an anime show of all places, where I was like, I don't really like.
Do you remember which one?
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay, yeah, I think you've recommended that to me before.
Yeah, there's a season in there really worth watching.
Just one season, you said?
For me personally, yeah. There's
one season worth watching.
Yeah.
But okay, gotcha.
They've got a bunch of seasons, but I would say Resolve. So I'm like, okay, if I did, I'm like, I don't really feel like working out tonight. Even if I had to work out, like I had to get a bunch of shit done, and I said, at the start of the day, I would say, okay, I resolved to do this, X, Y, and Z, and let's say one of them was working out, one of them was sending off an invoice to a client or something, right? Where like otherwise I would have not done it, but if I just put that trigger word resolve, it has to get done no matter what, under any circumstances. And I did that for like 2 months, and then eventually I missed one, and then it spiraled after that. Yeah. But it worked really well for me. Like,
yeah,
the work was fucking getting done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what all was your work at that time?
It was when I was starting the business.
Starting the podcasting.
So
Like
a year
work
ago.
for you was like podcasting, working out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, making clips, whatever it was.
Yeah, just all of the...
Right, all the things.
Yeah. Okay.
And that worked for me.
Resolve. Yeah, that's interesting, just having that trigger where it's like, if I assign this word to a task, no excuses.
It gets done. Even if I have to wake up at 5 a.m. and I have to work until 2 a.m, like, it gets done.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that I used to be able to do a lot better too. It wasn't a trigger word. Were you going to say something?
No.
Okay, yeah. But it wasn't a trigger word, but it was just, there were certain things that it's just like this, it needs to be done. You know?
Right.
Like the kickboxing, lifting, and work, basically. Like those were the three for like a long fucking time. And it's just like, you have to do that, point blank, period. Like, you can't miss it. If you have to miss a day for whatever reason, like, you have to make it up another day.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get 5 days of kickboxing in, 3 days of lifting, and at least 4, maybe 5 days of cardio in every week.
Yeah.
Period. Like, that's the regimen. And I was able to stick to that for like that one specifically for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And you know, that evolved from other regiments that I kept up. I keep fucking hitting that thing. That evolved from other regiments that I was able to stick to as well. You know, it's like for several years up until recently, I was able to stick to a pretty regimented routine. I mean, I would say from like 2019, like right before COVID, I started to kind of like find a groove, and then after COVID, I like picked that groove back up. And just seems like recently, I'm just like, I'm fucking out of that energy.
Yeah.
Which it's come and gone in peaks and valleys before, so I'm sure it's gonna hit me again. But right now, I'm sure for you, it's frustrating the same way it is for me.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And it's the thing that I used to think a lot was like, I think this was a perspective shift. I would think one of these days I'll just have the constant motivation that I'm looking for. And then I had to realize like that day's not going to come. Like the constant motivation is not going to come. And you have to get clear on that. I had to get clear on that. Like, it's not going to come, so you're just going to have to do the work.
Is there a way that you could train your brain to maintain that whenever you need it?
It's crazy how much energy that costs.
Because I know, like, whenever I was editing the Akira episode for Sean Newman, that made me think of a lot of the thoughts and notes that I was taking around the time that I first got into psychedelics, whenever I first kind of found that motivation just for something, you know, that like around age 20, that's around the time I switched out of that kind of mindset where I was able to just kind of fuck off and not feel bad about it. That you said, like, you know, before I would have been able to do that, but now,
right.
But around that time, that's when I started having thoughts about just like this feeling of just like not only motivation, but motivation and just passion and interest that I'm currently feeling while I am on mushrooms. Like, while I am peaking and I'm not whacked out of my mind having wild thoughts of, like, you know, just non-realistic I don't know. Not the weird type of psychedelic thoughts you'd think if somebody was totally like whacked out on acid or something, but just thinking a lot about my motivation and what I want to do and how I want to allocate my energy properly and whether or not it would. Anyway, what I was getting at was just I would get to a certain point during my trips where I'm just like, I love everything right now. You know, it's like the music that I'm listening to is incredible for this reason. I love all this part, and they all come together so magically. And I love fighting for this reason and this reason and this reason. I want to do all of these things. I have all of these things that I want to achieve. There must be, this is within my brain. Like, these mushrooms are not adding anything to my brain chemistry. They're altering my brain chemistry with a substance, but is there a way that I could somehow just manifest this type of brain activity without the aid of any outside substance, and could I maintain that? And I brought up the Akira episode because he was talking about maintaining that creative momentum specifically, like when he's working on a music project, or not when he's working on a project, but just as far as working on music goes, he's doing it constantly. Like, he is just constantly working on music and trying new things and keeping himself in that creative space so that he is never losing that momentum. He is never leaving that space. He is just constantly in that productive, creative flow to some degree. Right. Even if it's not as strong one day as it is the next, he's keeping it going with momentum. But how can you combat being exhausted and achieve that? Because we have these obligations to tend to that require that mental energy, you with your business and me with my job, which I feel like job has a negative connotation to it. I like my work.
Yeah, your work.
I really like the people that I work with specifically, and it's a very fulfilling job. So just anytime I say job or work, I'm not saying it like job and work. It's no, but yeah, I really like my job. Love the people I work with. Shout out to my upper management. Y'all are great.
Shouts out.
I won't say the name of the business because this show gets a little bit raunchy.
Incest.
Lots of incest, which I have notes on that we'll get into.
I think a piece of the puzzle, a piece of it, not the whole, but
for the motivation or the incest?
For the motivation.
Okay.
A piece of the puzzle is being crystal clear on like what your vision is for your life, crystal clear on the exact things that you want out of life and like what you're working towards exactly. Because
how else are you going to figure out how to achieve those things?
Right.
And you can't set steps to a goal that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Because inevitably Akira is going through monotonous tasks at some point, or inevitably he's doing work that isn't like the most inspiring part of that work. Like if he's working on a piece of music, whatever.
He's going to come to something that just isn't the most exciting and engaging.
Right. But when you are like, okay, but this is in service of this goal, it's a piece of the puzzle for sure.
Definitely, yeah, because whenever I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're getting at is just that if you have that clear-cut goal in mind, those little tedious and monotonous bits aren't going to be as graining.
For sure.
Grating. I think that's how it goes. I don't know. So many words that I have never seen written out, and I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. But yeah, no, it's just going to make those more bearable.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
Definitely, because it's like I am working towards this thing that I really would enjoy having. You know, just this existence that I would enjoy being a part of. Absolutely, which certainly does help, just having a vision. I mean, I don't have all of the details yet, just because some of it takes a little figuring out. Yep. Like, as far as everything that I want to do, just, you know, the things that I want to do regularly as a means of, like, sustaining myself, making money, or whatever, just surviving. So we'll say surviving. It's going to be a combination of things because I enjoy doing a lot of things, but it's I don't have that clear cut. It's like, I want to be a brain surgeon. Like some people have that clear cut. It's like, I want to do this thing specifically, which I don't know. Do you have a clear cut like this specifically? Because, I have parts specifically cut out. I want to do like video content and create music and do martial arts and weightlifting and all of that stuff. But there's more that I like, and
definitely,
as far as the finer details of that, those things specifically, I don't have all of those.
Yeah, cleared up.
Yeah,
the most clear one that I have, like my ultimate goal is the most clear one, and it's building a compound and building houses for my family on it and for my friends on it, and like a self-sustaining compound.
Well, for me, that's extremely clear. Like my end goal, where I want to end up, is clear as day. I can picture where I want to live, and I've started schematics on how I want it to look. But I mean, as far as the
work that gets you
process, because I know obviously you have a piece of that figured out. I mean, and you've said before you want the podcast business to remain a part of that, but
definitely,
is that like the
one
thing that you want to do forever is working on podcasts?
No. The other pieces are like a seriously trained and lethal fighter, and the other one is contributing to, like with the watch that I have in mind. Contributing, but even if that's not the way that it goes, contributing to ending or helping people with procrastination. Like that's like, to me, that looks like, okay, that's like the goal that needs to be set here is fixing that in some way. Like my buddy Benjamin, his main goal, he's a scientist, is to fucking stop aging and like make people live to 1,000, and like that's his goal. And he and I were having a conversation, and it's like, and I said, like, once we figure out the dying part, we need to figure out the living part. And
what do you do for 1,000 years?
I
mean, you could really master some crafts.
Oh my gosh, it'd be incredible.
It's like the high elves in fucking Elder Scrolls. They're so advanced because they live to be like a millennia old.
Right. And I would love that.
But
I would be all for that, because it's like, people say, well, that's got to get tiring or yada yada yada, whatever. It's like,
if you find purpose, no.
If you find purpose in the right community of like in relationships around you, fuck no. It's like that every day is going to be an adventure, and every day is going to be a life worth living.
80 to 100 years can be an adventure or a monotonous chore depending on how you spend your time. It's like, just bring that perspective into play regardless of how much time you're thinking about. Whether we live for 10 years or we live for 1,000 years, it's how you spend that time.
Totally. And it's like, we live to 90, 80, whatever. It's tragic if someone dies at 30. But if we had, like, if our capacity was 30 years old, people would say, 30 years old, and then someone's like, comes along, hey, you can live till 60. The same arguments would be made. Oh, that seems
exactly.
like it's going to be, too long.
Yeah, that's twice as long as we already live, and it's already so much.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and just on that note of somebody, say, dying at 30 nowadays, it's like, would you rather die at 30 having achieved literally all of your life's dreams, or live to 90 having done like not a single thing you ever wanted to do ever? Like, you never took a vacation, you never took just a trip anywhere, never found something that was genuinely fulfilling to you. You just, like, you worked, you paid your bills, and you died.
Right. Right.
I'd rather die at 30 having lived a really fun and fulfilling life. But either way, regardless, to live to 1,000 and to be able to actually be fulfilled and choose to be entertained and productive during all of that time would be incredible. It's more time. Like, the one thing I wish I had more of that there is no way to get more of is time.
Yep.
I don't understand the argument against that.
Yeah, and you ask every billionaire. I don't know if I said this in the last episode. You ask every billionaire, would you trade all of your wealth for your youth again? It's like every single one of them is gonna be like, fuck yeah,
because I know how to be a billionaire.
Yeah,
it's like I can make all that money back, and now I've got more time.
Yep.
Can't buy more time.
You
Fucking
can't buy it. You can't buy it.
Yeah.
Let's reset.
Yeah. Epic. All right. Let's get into some of the notes on the story.
Great.
Unless you have anything else.
No, that was a good
touch on from there.
convo. Let's continue.
Yeah, I think so. So, let's see. The first note I took was Rachel is Jacob's fucking cousin. Why? Which, again, we'll maybe see if we can come to something.
Yeah,
there.
the only thing I have is like I am making family synonymous with people with shared values. Like that's what I've got.
That's the only thing that I can come to as well. It's like, that these are also God's people. If you're venturing out into these other tribes of heathens, who knows who you may come across and mingle with. Yeah. So it's like these are the God's people. They're the only ones. All of God's people are related or something along those lines. So to stay within God's people, you have to marry relatives, I guess. I don't know. I think that's as far as we're going to get tonight, honestly. So mission accomplished. Let's see. Let's see. So yeah, weeping, we touched on. It doesn't necessarily have to be a negative connotation whenever it says that he saw Rachel and he wept aloud that he was her relative or whatever. He didn't seem like he had any reason to be upset, so I don't think he was. Mm-hmm. I assume he wasn't. They're always happy when they find family members. Find family members.
They are fine to them.
Yeah. So on the description of Leah, it says that she has weak eyes. So just the translation there could mean something more along the lines of delicate eyes.
Interesting.
So the exact meaning of that word's debated down to like how it was even used. It might have been an idiom, and if it was an idiom, we don't know what it means. So like, for example, we mentioned Jacob's name earlier, meaning he who grasps the heel, which we know is a Hebrew idiom for he who deceives. Mm-hmm. Even though deceiving doesn't literally have anything to do with grasping heels. So like, this description of her might not have even had anything to do with her eyes.
Okay.
That's worth noting. But assuming she did assuming it wasn't an idiom, there are two pretty common translations, and they're along the lines of she had weak eyes or she was tender-eyed. Weak sounds more negative, and the follow-up line, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful, makes a lot of people believe that it was in contrast to Leah not being attractive, because they use the word but. I don't know how much weight that argument holds, though, because the word but doesn't necessarily mean it's a contrast in that way. Because it's like, say I'm shopping for a rifle. I could say, well, the AK is really durable, but I can put a foregrip on the front end quad rail of an AR-15. It's like, one's more durable, but the other is more accessorizable. Neither's bad, right? And if it meant tender-eyed, that makes me think more like soft, caring, loving, like the opposite of intense eyes. It doesn't sound like it has a negative connotation to me automatically. It might, but it might not. So I don't know if they're necessarily implying that Leah is unattractive. They might be, but it's not for certain. Jacob definitely wanted Rachel more, but Leah might not be like not a catch as well. Like, she might also be a beautiful daughter.
Gotcha.
Just that was worth getting into a little bit. Just because, again, the translations cause so much of an issue, and come across something like that, I think that's worth detailing.
Gotcha.
Just because a lot of certain things here are going to come up later. So just any little detail that we get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see, 2920. So I've got all of these like marked where I've noted them. Seemed like only. Oh yeah. Just emphasizing that Jacob is really, really in love with Rachel because those 7 years of labor seemed like nothing to him.
Yeah.
So like they put a lot of emphasis on how much he wants Rachel, not Leah. Rachel. Let's see. Rachel. Where are they? After he realizes he's slept with Leah. Where is she? Where is Rachel? Where are they? Let's see. So, yeah, the swindler getting swindled was also lovely to me, which we already talked about. You know, Jacob didn't really swindle Esau out of his birthright. Esau was just kind of a dumbass in that scenario, as far as I can tell. They didn't give us any details that would imply that he would have literally died if he didn't take that stew right then and there. But he did absolutely trick Isaac into giving him Esau's blessing.
Yeah.
So very funny that he gets swindled into 7 more years of labor because it's like, well, we had to marry off the older daughter first, buddy. That's not how things go around here. I don't know if he could have just said, like, no, you can marry them both, but you have to marry Leah first, and more labor in exchange for both, because she is still my daughter, even though it's not the one you want. But I think for the sake of Jacob's story, that's why we went the tricking route, because he...
Sorry, go on.
Oh, no, just because he's a trickster, he needs to be tricked.
I'm just brought up the tangent thought of, like, because 7 years, it's the number 7 is symbolic of completeness in the Bible. Like, why not 6? Why not 5? Like, what about the number 7 brought them to the writers of this book to make these numbers?
Why did they pick the numbers they picked, 7 and 12? And I don't know.
Were there patterns in life that...
Yeah, like when looking at sacred geometry or whatever it's called. Like... I don't know, is maybe you notice something in 7s and like certain flowers or something like that, like 7 petals on flowers that were important to them, or 12 on another. Right. I don't know. I'm sure there's something to those numbers. That's something that I'll look into at some point. Whenever, like there's going to be a story that comes up where they keep mentioning numbers, and I'm going to be like, okay, why?
What the fuck?
Why this number? Why this one? And I'll do some digging as to why they chose those numbers, because we've looked into what they mean, just not why. Why, Gary?
Why, Gary? Why?
Why, Genesis? Why, Matthew? Why? But yeah, 7 years, which again, just on the subject of it being symbolic of completeness, it makes sense that he would have to serve 7 years of labor in order to get something as valuable as your daughter. So just kind of, that this will complete your unity or whatever. I don't know. But so the use of the number 7 works there, but I am curious why they've chosen the numbers that they've chosen for the meanings that they mean. But that's those 2 stories of what were they called? Jacob arrives in Padam Aram, start of his adventure, and then marries Leah and Rachel, which is going to it's going to lead into some interesting stories later.
Great.
There's a bit of turmoil coming up, like the fact that it mentions at the end of the last story, his love for Rachel was greater than his love for Leah after he makes love to Rachel for the first time. Like, it's important. Comes into play in the next story. And next story is going to be fun.
Cool.
Jacob starts having babies.
And I just noticed in chapter 30, Rachel saw that she had not born children to Jacob. That's a recurring theme throughout the Bible of, like, women not being able to birth children.
In chapter 30. Yes. Yeah. That's yeah, it is a recurring theme, and it's kind of the main theme of the next story.
Cool.
Just Rachel not being able to bear him children, and that leading to a bunch of shenanigans. It's a fun story. The next one's fun. Whenever I was skimming through these before taking actual notes on them and highlighting the focal points, I was having a good time reading through that one, especially.
Nice,
Just
okay.
like, oh my God, this is happening. But yeah. So next story is going to be really fun, and then more of Jacob's journey from there.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
See you around, everybody.